Okay, this is Chapter 4, CVP Analysis. Really important chapter because it really shows how powerful it is to take numbers and break them apart between what's variable and what's fixed, and how we can use that to project cost. So what it does, it helps. What I've got here is the outline of the notes from ProCopy, okay? And we'll actually go through the problems here as a good foundation, and then we'll do some basic problems afterwards. The videos are all already on Canvas for it, so you should be in pretty good shape. But this is, and you've actually done this in 2071, okay? We just maybe go a little bit further with it. So what we use this for, it's about the relationships between cost, volume, and profit. Okay, so cost, volume, and profit. And examples, the way we use it includes setting prices for products and services. If you're thinking about introducing a new product or a new service, you've got to look at these numbers to assess whether a given product should be made within the firm or outsourced. All right, all these business decisions come back to an analysis in CVP. Whether you should replace equipment or maybe just refurbish it. Okay, and finally, lots of strategic what-if analyses to make the best decision you can. Like, what if we do this versus what if we do that? All right, and the basic model is that profit is equal to revenue minus variable costs minus fixed costs. But I'd rather have you think, I'm down here in the bottom now, I'd rather have you think about this like this. You know, I think that horizontal formulas are problems. So here we've got sales revenue, less variable cost is your contribution margin, less fixed cost is net income or operating income. Okay? So revenue is going to be your selling price times units sold. Variable costs is your variable cost per unit times units sold. And then fixed costs will be reported in total. All right? And remember that they stay the same within the relevant range. Okay, one of the things that you're going to want to be aware of are some of the CVP assumptions or limitations, okay, to the model. That nothing's perfect, okay? That's the one thing about accounting as a major. It makes you think that everything ties out and everything's, that it's a black and white field, and it really isn't. It's anything but black and white. It's really very gray, okay? That one of the things it assumes that a change in volume is the only factor that affects costs. And that's not true. Okay, so in other words, it only shows you the effect of a change in volume on your assumptions. It's all that it shows you. It doesn't tell you what the cost is going to be. All right? That managers can classify costs as either variable or fixed. It assumes this. Okay? This isn't always true either. That revenues and costs are linear in the relevant range. So what we're saying there is, if you picture a grid, that it's a straight line. Okay, and they aren't. Sometimes they'll curve around depending on volumes. That inventory levels will not change, okay, and you know that they do, and that the sales mix of products will not change. All right, so if we assume that we've got a 2-to-1 product mix, that we assume that it stays the same like that, and it definitely may not. Now, I know these are pretty serious limitations, but that's okay, all right? It's just a starting point, so it's important for you to understand that it's just a starting point, okay? That's all it is. Okay, now this next piece, I want you to really pay attention to this chart right here. This is if I do a contribution margin problem, especially a difficult one, okay, this is where I'll start, is just like this. That's all I was thinking here. This is, we've got 3 columns here, total, per unit, and percent. And then I've got my basic contribution margin statement here. Okay, sales revenue less variable cost is your contribution margin, less fixed cost is net income. So in total, these are our numbers. Per unit, all I've got to do is divide something by the unit price. Once I know what my volume is, I can figure out what all my per unit costs are. And then the most important part is this ratio. Okay, sales are always 100%. Okay, it's the biggest number. It's always 100%. And then variable cost, this is called a cost percentage. Okay, now if our costs are 40%, then our contribution margin must be 60%. Okay, and the way to think about this is the contribution to cover your fixed costs. Now down here, just going to put a quick line in here. I don't want you to ever use these lines. Okay? Never use that. Can I do another one? No. No, I'll just do it like that. We only do per unit, contribution margin and above. You don't do fixed cost per unit. That doesn't mean there's never a problem that asks that. They're going to want to make sure that you understand that the fixed cost per unit, decreases with increases in volume. You know how that question is always there. But we don't make decisions about fixed cost based on fixed cost per unit. Okay? Only up above, contribution margin and above. Okay? So the contribution margin ratio then, CM ratio, is the ratio of contribution margin to sales revenue. This is the CM ratio right here. Okay? So 60% of sales is your contribution margin. All right? And then break-even analysis says, well, at what point have we covered all of our fixed costs? How many little contribution margins does it take to cover those fixed costs? Okay, and maybe earn some income that the company is looking for. All right, that's how to think about that. I wish I could see your faces. That's the trouble with this, Now, the other topics that we'll work on in here, and not in this presentation, but say in the second half, is sales mix. You need to know sales mix. You need to know this for the exam. Margin of safety. And that is just how much are we selling over break-even sales? Okay, what's the excess of expected sales over break-even sales? That's what margin of safety is. And then operating leverage. Operating leverage is a bigger discussion, and it's about the excess of fixed and variable costs the company has. And it's a bigger discussion. We'll have it later, okay? It's a cool thing to understand, but you're going to have to do some thinking on it. So let's do some basic CVP first and continue on with these examples, okay? So here in the first one, let's say we've got a $40 selling price per unit, fixed cost of $900, variable cost of $30. How many units must be sold to break even? Okay, little classic problem here. So a couple of different ways we can think about this. The fixed cost, the total number of units to break even, is going to equal our fixed costs plus operating income divided by the contribution margin per unit. Okay, so fixed costs plus, let's call this desired operating income. Okay, fixed costs plus desired operating income divided by the contribution margin per unit. So using this example, it would be our fixed costs. We have no desired income, so fixed costs divided by $10. Okay, all the underlines disappeared. That would give us 90 units to break even. So if we sell 90 units at $40 a piece, all right, we'll make $10 per unit, and then 10 times 90 would be the $900 of fixed cost that we want to cover. Okay? Okay, now we're going to adjust it a little bit. We'll have the same selling price and variable costs and fixed costs, but what we're going to ask is, what would the income be if 200 units were sold? Okay, so here we would have okay, I just paused the video here, and I changed this solution, and then I want to show you two different ways. Okay, so in this case, now we've got the same selling price and variable costs and fixed costs. What is income if 200 units are sold? So that would be $200 times my selling price minus $200 times my variable cost minus $900 of fixed cost. Okay, that would give us $1,100 of income. Now if you want, you might want to pause here and copy this down. Okay, now this is another way to do it here. Assume the same facts as in one, but now we've got desired operating income of $300. Now another way to do this, and the way we're really going to do it, is to have take your fixed costs. I'm going to give us another line here. This is going to be fixed cost plus desired operating income divided by your contribution margin per unit. Okay, so your fixed cost plus your desired operating income divided by the contribution margin per unit is going to give you, I gotta get rid of this, I'm sorry. See, this is what I could have done if we were together in class. We could have talked about it and not done this. But that would give us number of units needed. Number of units to sell, okay? In order to earn that money. I don't want that underlined here. What do you think? God. Can't win here. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Let's put another space in here too. So we can take, this is your first important formula. Okay, there's several formulas in this chapter that you need to know. So your fixed cost plus desired operating income divided by the contribution margin per unit, okay, will give us the number of units to sell to earn that operating income. So that would be $900 of fixed cost plus $300 of desired operating income divided by a $10 contribution margin gives us 120 units. That's what we would have to sell. Okay, so this is the first formula that you want to know. And the way, let's say if we do it over here, we can say fixed cost plus desired op income, underscore that. We're going to say divided by CM per unit. Okay, will give us units. Okay, so that gives us, units, not sales dollars, but units. That's what we're focusing on here. Okay, so now we're going to change it a little bit again. Assume the same facts. What are the total sales dollars for desired operating income of $300? So we've got 120 units times a selling price of $40 would give us $4,800, but we already know that that's only based if we know 120 units. But let's say you don't know that, okay? Then it would be fixed costs plus operating income divided by the contribution margin ratio, okay? This is your next major formula that you need to know. So fixed costs plus desired operating income divided by your contribution margin ratio or percentage. Okay, so here's our fixed costs are 900 plus 300 desired operating income divided by a 25% CM ratio. That's what that is. So if we take 40 minus 30 is 10. 10 divided by 40 would be 25%. So that's where the 25% comes from right here. Okay, there's our contribution margin divided by our selling price. Gives us a 25% CM ratio. All right, I hope you're taking notes on this. As long as you're doing it, you might as well do it right, Okay. Yeah, our contribution margin ratio is 10. Did we get an answer? Oh, it would be the $1,200, the $4,800. Yeah, that's what our sales would be. So let's see. So that's $1,100. Let's do that. So it's going to be $1,200 divided by 0.25. 1,200 divided by 0.25 is, of course, I don't have a calculator here. $4,800. Okay. All right. So that's a good start. And now we're going to have to work some other problems. And then the next video, we'll focus on income tax. All right. We're not going to do that right now. This has gone long enough. Yeah. So income taxes, margin of safety, and sales mix are the only three major areas left. But then other than that, what you want to do is tons and tons of problems to practice this. Okay.